Good morning, everybody. I have a prophet to show you.
She always said that America's greatest danger would not come from outside its borders, but from within. And this was only the beginning of what she saw. The most alarming visions were still to come. Visions she only shared with a few, and that remained buried for years. It was a quiet morning when Jean Dixon said she received one of the most powerful visions of her life. She was alone, seated near her window, holding her rosary, when something beyond explanation happened. She described it as a flood of light and a deep heaviness in her chest, as if the weight of an entire nation had been placed upon her soul. What followed was not a dream or a passing thought. It was a revelation so heavy, she wept for hours. In that moment, Dixon saw a future that shook her to the core. She claimed to see a once great nation crumbling, not from war, but from betrayal, lies, and spiritual decay.
She is referring to America. And she is right. Right now, her prophecy for America is unfolding.
She said the
Let's
American
continue.
people would be misled by voices that promised peace, but brought division, confusion, and fear. She saw churches
Which is going on currently.
emptying, families torn apart, and truth being twisted into something unrecognizable. What makes this moment so chilling is that Dixon didn't speak of it loudly at first. She wrote it in a private journal. She prayed over it. She questioned why she had been shown something so terrible. But deep inside, she knew it was a message that one day would need to be told. This wasn't just another vague prediction. Dixon spoke of exact feelings, exact images. A land darkened by unrest. A flag waving but no longer in unity. A leader standing at a podium but with darkness behind his words. And in the distance, the cries of a people who had lost their way. Many years passed before she dared to share this vision publicly. But she warned. If America didn't turn back to God, the nation would suffer a fall no one could stop.
And that's exactly what is happening currently. Our nation is falling.
And tragically,
because of all this unrest within. A house divided cannot stand. And that is what's going on. Our people, you can't leave your home without fear of somebody doing something to you if they find out you think differently than them. And then the other people on their side think that that action is acceptable. Like what happened with Charlie Kirk. In what universe is it acceptable for people, regardless how you felt about him, regardless how you felt about his ideas, in what world is it okay to celebrate anyone's death? That's what you people need to ask yourselves. Because look,
much of what she saw is now beginning to unfold before our very eyes.
yes,
Dixon's
it
vision
is.
of a crumbling America wasn't something she kept to herself forever.
And listen, I'll be gone. I'm 52, so I got maybe 20, 30 good years left if I'm lucky. So by the time this nation actually falls, I'll be with my maker. So it's not going to affect me or my spouse, but it will affect my children and my grandchildren. So I want this America to get built back good. But all this division, all these people with their little nose rings, their little bull rings that look absolutely stupid. By the way, that does not look good. It looks like you have snot hanging out of your nose. So stop, because it's not cool. The only thing people see when they see that is a crazy person. Okay? So if you have that, not a nose ring, but the little bull thing that you want to grab and pull out of your nose, the snot blocker there. Can you imagine in winter when their nose is ew. Anyway, let's get back to
Years
this.
of prayer and silence,
By the way,
Finally
this is
began
Jean
sharing
Dixon.
pieces of it with
She was a
those
very
in
good
positions
prophet.
of power, congressmen, advisors, even figures tied to the presidency. But instead of listening, many of them brushed it off. Some politely thanked her. Others mocked her behind closed doors. They didn't want a prophet. They wanted silence. One senator reportedly told her, "This country doesn't need fear.
You can see it, one of our senators saying that, can't you? I can.
It needs strength." Dixon
And guess what? Right now, we don't even have strength. We have nothing but fear.
responded, "Strength without truth will destroy itself." She mailed letters, left messages, and tried to warn those who still held Christian values in office. But in the world of politics, where power and image matter more than prayer, her words were labeled as superstition. Even those who had once respected her after the Kennedy prediction began to distance themselves. After all, the future she described was not convenient. It was terrifying. Still, Dixon never stopped. She believed it wasn't about being believed. It was about being faithful. She continued to share her warning.
And it's true. If we don't turn back to God and our original values, and yes, original Christian values, because that's what this country was built upon, was the values of God and Jesus. Okay? So if we don't get back to that soon, this image that she had, this thing that's happening in our country, will continue down that path until we have fallen, until America has fallen, and our once great nation that stood so proud against tyranny will now crumble to dust. Is that what we truly want as Americans? Is that what we want as a civilization? Now, these young people might think, oh, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? So we're having a few protests. So we're raising a little ruckus. What's the big deal? The big deal is it causes you division. The big deal is if you're wrong, all you're doing is causing chaos for no reason. The only thing that'll happen is the nation that we all love will fall. And what will happen is we'll get taken over, most likely by a radical Islamic regime. And the reason I say that is because they're already sneaking in to our country. We've already got sleeper cells here. We've already got, via our government's own words, our DOJ's own words, or whatever they're called, the big dogs on top there. Anyway, point is they've already told us we've got sleeper cells in this country. And then we got people running for office like Mandami, who refuses to denounce Hezbollah and or Sharia law. All these predictions, all you got to do is look them up and to see them. Now, am I saying every person who spoke any kind of thing is a prophet and should be listened to wholeheartedly without doubt? No, I'm saying doing your own research. Now, I did my research on this, and I can tell you we are definitely fulfilling this prophecy. There is division and fear, and there is endless amounts of people who see others do evil things and they cheer it on. Like they've got no sense. Like they got no brains. They cheer on this bad behavior. Well, guess what? When you cheer on bad behavior, more bad behavior happens. I've seen families torn apart because parents voted Republicans and kids voted Democrat. And instead of doing their own research, they listen to the insanity. They listen to the people they call their friends. Now, these people that they call their friends don't even know them. They're online friends. They're not real friends. When my daughter sits there and go, oh, I'm talking to my friends. I go, they're not friends. Did you meet them? Did you physically shake their hand and introduce yourself? And she said, no, they're online friends. I said, they're not real friends. Go out and make real friends, real connections. And she did. People online, when they talk to you, just like when you're doing a video and people comment and such, they make their comments, they make their opinions known. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to listen to those opinions and take them as gospel. You just have to understand that there's right and wrong, good and evil. And without one, the other cannot exist.
In church meetings, prayer groups, and small gatherings of believers. To her, it wasn't about changing the minds of leaders. It was about preparing the hearts of the people. One chilling part of her warning was this: if the leaders close their ears, the people will open their eyes too late. That sentence, written in her own hand, was found in one of her journals after her death. It was a message not just for those in high places, but for everyone who had trusted the system more than they trusted the truth. And now, as the signs she spoke of become more visible each day, one thing becomes painfully clear. They had their chance to act,
And they
chose
didn't.
to look away. There are parts of Jeane Dixon's prophecy that were never shared publicly until now. These were not predictions she printed in books or spoke on radio shows. They were handwritten notes, personal letters, and private recordings that...
In other words, this lady spoke of a time in America, and anybody can be a prophet, really. All you got to do is look at the world events that have happened since the dawn of time. My husband describes it like a pendulum, okay? We start in the middle, center. Everybody's good, everybody's perfect. Now, then people decide that they want a little more freedoms, a little more rights to do, then they swing a little left, and a little more left, and a little more left, until we're at the highest level of left, where everybody is getting everything. Crime is running rampant on the streets. You can't leave your home. That's where we are now. Okay, we're at the top of the pendulum. Now the pendulum, what happens? It's going to start moving again. And it's going to come back this way, where it's going to swing all the way back to the far right, where we have like policing, police states, and things like that. That's the point, is this pendulum of ours keeps swinging back and forth. The only way we can keep our civilization is to keep it dead center. And right now, we're all the way to the left. Pretty soon, it's going to swing all the way to the right. And then we're going to have a civil war. Because what ends up happening is when you push the government, you push the government, you push the government pushes back. And how they usually do that is with a police military state, which is where we are at currently. The military's hitting our streets. Why? Because we got idiot nose ring groups running around with their little bowl ring snot lockers, running around acting stupid on our streets. Look at Portland. Look at Chicago. A bunch of idiots running around acting foolish. Then what happens? President Trump says, enough is enough. Now, do I agree with everything our president says or does? No, I do not. I definitely do not. Just like this whole government shutdown, I think this is the worst thing for our country right now. But unfortunately, we got people like Chuckles Schumer and such who decided to shut down our government. And yes, this is totally on. I don't want to hear the bullshit that the Republicans hold the majority and blah, 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 blah. No, that's not how our government works. You have to have a certain amount of signatures in order for something to pass. Okay? Are we clear? Now, that being said, This is all on the Democrats. The Democrats want Obamacare to stay. The Republicans are like, that's a breaking point for us because we're not going to let illegal immigrants have free health care and all this free funding. That's a deal breaker. The Democrats know that. So what are they doing? They're holding the government hostage until they get their way, which is hurting the American people. Social Security is being affected. People who need that money to survive. Medicare, Medicaid, benefits, SNAP benefits that people need to survive is all being ripped away. Why? Because of Chuck Schumer and the Democratic Party. And the Republicans as well. They all are fighting back and forth and screwing us, the American people. And they need to stop it, and they need to come together and start working together. Otherwise, our nation will fall. Our great nation will fall. And then great leaders like Kennedy and great leaders like Lincoln and George Washington will have lived their life in vain. Because this nation fell. And who will we blame for that? The Democratic Party and the Republican Party. The Democratic leaders and the Republican leaders who could not figure out how to come together, work together to pass a budget that would be appropriate. But no, they want to continue. We want free shit for all our illegal immigrants. We want this, we want that. You want to know what we, the American people, actually want? We want a government that works. We want our freedoms to choose. And we want no police states. But we also don't want sanctuary cities. We also don't want illegal immigrants running around causing crime and chaos. Look at New York City, all of those street vendors that were illegal. They had no documentation. That means their food, they're serving food to you that you don't know is safe. You don't know if that food is safe. There's no documentation, which means they're pretty much making their food and selling it as if they were handing it out of their kitchen. And people buy it because it's part of being a New Yorker. Well, guess what? That's going to fall too. New York City, the heartbeat of America, will be the first city that falls. The first great city that falls. Next to LA, of course. You want to know why? Because we got people like Mamdani who's going to run it. Because Curtis Sliwa won't drop out. Not because he has a chance of winning, because he's got the lowest point percentage. Nobody's voting for you, dude. Get it through your head. You've been running since the 70s? And nobody's ever voted for you. I wonder why. But every time there's a mayor election, he runs. And he refuses to drop out, which means the voters that would vote for Cuomo, that are voting for Sliwa, that would have voted for Cuomo if Sliwa wasn't there. Now, you're basically, Curtis, you are handing Mamdani the winning ticket. I don't care if you don't like Cuomo. But Mamdani is the worst thing that could happen in New York City. Look at everything that's been up about him. And yet, this man still refuses to drop out. New York City, Mamdani becomes your mayor, you will be the first city to fall. You thought Newsom was bad? Woo! The stuff I have learned about Mamdani, Sharia law will be a thing. I guarantee you. I guarantee you the radical Islamics will take over New York City. The radical Islam will take over New York City, and New York City will fall. And no longer be a great American city, the heartbeat of America. You have a mayoral candidate who posed for a picture, smiling ear to ear with the co-conspirator of the World Trade Center incident that happened. A co-conspirator, and he was seen photographed with him. What the hell is wrong with people? You see somebody, he's standing with somebody who's a known co-conspirator of the World Trade Center incident in 93. And yet you still vote for him. New York City, when your great city falls, I don't want to hear one person getting on any platform crying the blues because you did it to yourself. Just like LA, I don't want to hear them crying the blues, saying boo-hoo for us when they did it to themselves by allowing it. We the people. We the people. Do you know what that sentence means? That we the people are in charge. They work for us. The Democratic leaders work for us. The Republican leaders work for us. They don't do what we want. They get told to get the hell out of that position of power. Because that's the way it's supposed to go. That's why we vote. But what's been going on is the Democratic Party have been sneaking people into the country, allowing them to vote at local elections only, because we all know they can't vote at the federal level, but they vote at those sanctuary city levels, and guess what? The sanctuary city policies stay into play, and the wokeness stays. Now, I don't give a flying flip. I don't live in New York City, so I don't care. It does not affect my daily life, is what I mean. I care. I don't want to say that. I care. But what I mean by it doesn't affect me or my family. The moment it does, before it does, we will be leaving New York, along with probably every other New Yorker that actually is a New Yorker, not these little implants. New Yorkers are a special breed. True New Yorkers are a special breed. Not these immigrants, illegal immigrants that were brought in under Biden. Not these Mandamis and things like that. No, they're not New Yorkers. Mandami's not a New Yorker. He's only been in this country, I think, 7 years, 8 years, something like that. According to what I heard. I don't know if that's true. I don't want to quote it because I don't know if it's true. That means he's not a true New Yorker. And you're going to have a non-New Yorker be the mayor of the biggest city in this country, basically. And yes, New York City is the heartbeat of America. Ellis Island. That's where people came in and said, give me your poor, your whatever. That's where people came in, through Ellis Island. And they did it the right way. They did it the proper way. What happened to that? What happened to that, America? No, now we got division and all this fighting and infighting and kids disavowing their parents and disowning their parents because they voted for Trump. How stupid do you have to be to literally disown your own family because of a political figure that has absolutely nothing to do with you? You are disgusting if you did that. Because you only have one mother and one father. And the good book says, honor thy mother and thy father, and you don't. Shame on you. You're going to hell in a handbasket. Now, that being said, and yes, I fully believe as a Christian, if you don't follow the good book, you're going unless you repent and ask God for your forgiveness, to give you forgiveness. Because you should honor thy mother and thy father. Because if you don't honor thy mother and thy father, you're ignoring God's law. And you got these moronic nose ring snot blockers who disown their family because they didn't vote for because they voted for Trump. How dare they? Grow a brain cell. Antifa idiots. Y'all are stupid. Y'all are sheep. The reason why I say that is because you don't do your own damn research. They are not dividing families. They're not locking up children. You're listening to lies. And yet you think, oh, well, it's okay because that's what they say. All our little people say that. And I'm a little sheep. And I got to follow because I got a snot blocker and blue hair. And all you grannies and grampies out there raising a ruckus, shut up and sit down and retire. Because we don't want to hear your mouth. And yes, this is a rant because I am so sick and tired of our country going the way it's going. Because you people have destroyed it. And you are currently destroying it, actively destroying it. And nothing's being done about it. Unless Trump brings in the military. And then people get up in arms over that. If you're in this country illegally, get out. Or become legal. It's that simple. This has happened all the time. And yet, remember pendulum. Every 4 years we get either a Democrat or a Republican, depending on whether or not that person's a Democrat or a Republican will determine whether or not we allow illegals into this country and whether or not we give them any kind of rights or freedoms or whatever. Okay? Every 4 years this happens. Like clockwork. You can set your fucking clock to it. You can set your clock to it. Every 4 years this happens. All right, come on. Hold on. So every 4 years, like clockwork, this happens. And we don't see this nonsense. The only reason why this nonsense is going on is because the Democratic leaders have made this happen. You Democratic leaders have sowed the seed of this chaos. You are the reasons. Chuck Schumer, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Jasmine Crockett, all of you, Hakeem Jeffries, and every one of you, you're all guilty of this. Our country, our great nation is falling, and it's on your feet, at your feet. You're the reasons. You are sowing this seed of dissension. Every time you call Donald Trump's a dictator, every time you call his administration an authoritative administration, you are causing chaos and sowing seeds of dissension. And you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Every single one of you. Now, I've seen another thing. All these prophets you listen about and you hear them spread their prophet. There's people like Kim Clement or whatever his name is. There's also people like Nostradamus, Baba Vanga. All of them have the same message pretty much. That America will fall if there is division and chaos in our streets. And we always fall from within. Why do you think the enemy comes from within and not from without? Why do you think that is? Because we're letting them in. We're letting the people into our country just walk across our border that want to do us harm. Iranian sleeper cells. They want to see the Western nation fall. There's mosques in America, in Dearborn, Michigan, that literally have been heard saying and seen the video. I've seen the video of them doing it, where they're saying this Akbar America or whatever it's called. It means down to America. We have people in this country that want to see America fall. And you snot blockers with your little bull rings and you Antifa idiots are the reason it's happening, along with the Democrats. So shame on all of you. So the three groups of people that are responsible for America falling will be Antifa, the Democratic Party, and the radical Islamic regime that are currently in our country. Is this what we want for America? Because, hey, listen, like I said, it doesn't affect me directly, but it will affect my children and their children directly. So all you Gen Xers need to start stepping up. And y'all need to start speaking out, because we're the quiet generation. We're the generation that says, fuck around, find out. But we need to step up, because our country is going to fall, and our children and their children won't have a country left if we don't step up. So I call on all Gen Xers to start saying something. Don't be quiet anymore. We need to step up and we need to vote these people out that are destroying our country. So stand with me and say, down with this BS. We need to step up and say, down with sanctuary cities. We need to step up and say, down with all of this nonsense. And let's start again and get it done. Let's go, Gen X. It's time to stop being quiet. All my Gen Xers out there, along with myself, we need to step up and we need to start speaking out against this nonsense. Let's stop these snot blockers and Antifa idiots from destroying our country and having it fall. Make asylums a thing again and put them all in there. I don't know. But we need to do something. And that starts with voting out these Democratic division makers. Because that's what they are. Democratic division makers. Because every time one of them say, well, Donald Trump is comparable to the worst person that was ever alive, they are sowing seeds of division. And we Gen Xers need to step up and start saying something, because we're the quiet generation. We're the generation just sits back and watches the chaos. We're the generation that just sits back and says, you know what? They'll find out. They'll fuck around. They'll find out. F-A-F-O. Go ahead, baby. F-A-F-O. That's what they're going to find out. And that's what we are. We're that generation. We're the generation that just sits back and lets it happen. Well, no more. We need to be the generation that steps up and says, enough is a fucking enough. Antifa, go away. Nose blockers, shut up and sit down and do your schoolwork. Grannies and grandpies out there holding up your little signs, sit down, shut up, and retire. Let the Gen Xers take over. Thank you very much. We got this. You boomers, shush. We got this. Now, to my Gen Xers, I say this. Is this what we want? Do we want America to fall? because that's where we're heading. We need to stop being the quiet generation, and we need to step up and start saying something. Because enough is enough. God bless. Peace out, Cub Scouts. Don't forget, like and subscribe for more. I'll catch you guys on the flip. Don't forget what I said, Gen Xers. Let's step up and start taking care of this nation and show them who is the generational people that rock this land and own it. God bless.